Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is a video discussing 5 Premier League teams you should probably avoid getting players from into your fantasy league team, at least at the start of the season. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe, like the video. It is greatly appreciated, especially on such a small channel trying to grow. And let's get into the video. So, just a quick one today. So, the first team we're going to avoid is Chelsea. We've got the fixtures on the screen here. For me, Chelsea are a bit like Man United were last year. There's so much turnover. There'll be players that they're still trying to get out of the door that are disrupting the dressing room, and the new players that are coming in are players that aren't necessarily slotting into a ready-made system. On top of that, they've also got a new manager who's trying to get his ideas into the players. They've only had a pre-season, to be honest, and I just think to expect them to hit the ground running is a little bit too much. The fixtures don't look too bad on paper, but I would say that, for a large part of last season, the fixtures didn't look too bad for Chelsea. And for me, it's like, what do you expect from Chelsea? Like, you've got Arsenal, Man United, Man City, all going to be good this season. Liverpool trying to get it back together. Then you've got teams like Spurs, Villa, Newcastle, who are all vying for those top spaces. So for me, a successful season for Chelsea is top six, but it's going to be hard to do. And I just think with this, there's some of those players are going to take longer to bed in than you would hope for. The next team we're going to have is Newcastle, and it's really just because the fixtures are tricky before at the start of the season. I think last year they had a lot of clean sheets, but they came in a really incredible spell where they just didn't concede for like 8 or 9 games. I think to expect them to do that again this season is tough, especially with Champions League coming round the corner. I think top four again for Newcastle is quite a big ask to do that consistently for a new squad. I think, the start of the season could really be quite tricky for them, and then it's gaining momentum from that point. So I would especially avoid, Newcastle defenders, but the attack could be tricky as well at the start of the season. The third team we've got are Spurs, and kind of, we're talking about quite similar to Chelsea, really. New manager, new system, players that maybe they're trying to shift on, players that maybe don't want to be there. And I just think, a manager that's not used to the Premier League is going to take time to bed in those expectations. And the fixtures, Brentford and Man United and Arsenal in the first 6 games, they're tricky games as well. So there will be pressure on those Bournemouth, Burnley, and Sheffield United games. But two of those games are still away as well, which will not make it easy. The fourth team we're looking at are Wolves. Now, a manager change over the summer is not good for anybody, especially a team that struggled for the most part last season. They're looking at, players like Jimenez maybe leaving. They're unhappy. They've lost Ruben Neves. And the fixtures to start the season, Man United, Brighton, and Liverpool, are not that great at all. I would even put Everton away and Palace away in there. They're tricky fixtures. I would tip Wolves to really struggle. I don't necessarily know who you might be considering getting in from Wolves, maybe a cheap defender or a goalkeeper, but I would just look at alternative options at a similar price range. The final team we're looking at today is Bournemouth, and similar to Wolves, a manager change over the summer is not great. Their fixtures are also really tough. I would tip Wolves and Bournemouth potentially to get relegated this season or at least be in amongst it. I just don't see why you'd get players in from those teams when there are teams that are maybe similar prices and exact and similar expectations as well. So yeah, that's the video for today. Try to keep it short just to get out some information. If you did like it, please do subscribe. That would be fantastic. And if you are looking to look at our first FPL draft that we did a couple of days ago, it's on the screen now. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you in the next one.